Hello, how the tech are you? This is our weekly tech show on Echoplex Media. We talk about tech news, science news, anything tech and science we feel like talking about. I am historian Matt. I don't really have a particular topic under tech and science that I usually talk about, but today I do. Today I'm talking a lot about the kind of intersection of art and science and tech and law. And so for my two stories today, I have my first one is art created entirely by AI cannot be copyrighted, according to a particular judge. We'll go over that one. It's kind of a story we've been following for a while. And the next one is a lawsuit. Bored Ape NFTs are bad investments. Which is kind of duh, but we'll go over what that is. It's actually even worse than you think, probably. So you don't have a hat or anything.
I don't. Oh, yeah. I was supposed to put on my beanie. Oh, well. I am HK Parent. I'm a software engineer, and I cover software engineering news. And this week I have a cool update on a library, a UI library for React called NextUI. They've released their version 2.1.0, so I'm going to talk about that.
I'm producer Dave. I'm the producer of this and all the shows on Echoplex Media. Today I'm talking about New York Times blocking the OpenAI web crawler and most of the photos on Twitter before December 2014 disappearing. Take it away, Matt.
All right. So my first topic is art created by AI cannot be copyrighted. It's a story we've been following for a while. We used to talk about AI art a lot. It's kind of, dropped out of the news a bit, but it's new information, sort of, kind of already known this. But it's a new ruling. So a federal judge rules that AI art cannot be copyrighted. It's Judge Beryl Howell, I think is how to pronounce his name, issued the order on Friday. And part of this order, this judgment is centered around, human authorship is essential part of copyright claims. So copyright is necessary to incentivize humans to create and invent. Thus, and non-human actors, as they say, do not need this incentive. So if you're wondering why it says non-human and not AI, that's because this is, related to some older cases, including the case of, it was a monkey, I don't remember the exact type, but who took a picture with a camera, and there's a whole thing to do about that many years ago, about whether or not you can, the owner of the camera could claim copyright on that, or the monkey could claim copyright or something. You've probably seen that image has been bouncing around for years, but hasn't been around recently. But yeah, so it's basically, they're saying like you have to have a human to have copyright claim, and copyright is necessary to incentivize humans to create and invent. I'm not sure that is true, but relatedly, the Copyright Office has a little longer quote. So so it says, users do not exercise ultimate creative control over how such systems interpret prompts and generate material. This is about AI generated art. Instead, these prompts function more like instructions to a commissioned artist. They identify what the prompter wishes to have depicted, but the machine determines how those instructions are interpreted and implemented. So it's basically, they're trying to say that these generative art programs are just like telling an artist to do something. So like as if, somebody commissioning art, but because, the computer does all of the creative work, according to them, you can't copyright it because you have to have a human to do that. So what do you guys think? We're circling back on this. Not a whole lot new, but
yeah, I think this is the exact right decision. Actually, no, I don't think this goes far enough. I think that we should draw kind of a line of like how much the artwork has to be human created. And I think that line should be like 50%. If a human didn't create at least like 50% of a piece of art, like if a machine created 50% of it or more, I think it shouldn't be copyrightable.
That sounds fine to me, except what does making 50% of an art
Yeah, how do you quantify
means.
that?
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, that would have to be interpreted by the courts, but
Like,
like
that's
I can
somebody
see
else's
something
job.
along the lines of like, I could see something along the lines of like, if you draw a sketch, right? If you sketch something and you have AI do the line work for it, and then you do the coloring, the rendering, and all that, then I'd say, you know, you did most of the work. You did probably around like 70% of the work. Whereas if you had an AI generate a sketch and then you did the line work for it, and then you had the AI do the rendering, the coloring and rendering and all that, then the AI did most of the work. All you did was the line work. So you shouldn't be able to copyright that. You know what I'm trying to get at?
What about something like ControlNet, which I haven't played around with much, but you know, I've seen some stuff on it. But basically, like, you could almost make like a stick figure drawing, and the AI will actually fill that in with an actual person based on your prompt. Like, is that 50%? Is that like 10%?
No,
what is that?
That would be akin to like you doing a sketch and the AI doing the rest.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So like, I don't think it should just be art that is fully generated by the AI. I think it should be art that is mostly generated by the AI. You shouldn't be able to copyright. Because think about it this way, like, you're going to get people, you're going to get these like big companies wanting to use these AI machines to create things like advertisements where a human should be creating those things, but the you know, McDonald's is going to be like, I'm not saying McDonald's is going to do this, just an example. They're going to like generate some AI poster work that they're going to slap their logo on and be like, use that as our ad for everywhere.
Yeah,
I think if that
not
were
saying
to
McDonald's
happen,
would do that. McDonald's famous for valuing people's labor.
Yeah, seriously. So, you know, if McDonald's were to do that, I think that piece, that ad, I'm not saying they shouldn't be allowed to do that. They should be allowed to do that and use it as an ad. But yeah, that piece should be uncopyrightable. I should be able to do whatever I want with that piece because McDonald's wouldn't own the copyright in that case. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, and I mean, as far as the who did how much work, I mean, the problem I see here is that whoever has enough money is going to be the one who clearly did the amount of work they needed to do. Because
yeah. Also, I think.
But maybe we could use an AI. We could use an AI judge to decide. It wouldn't be biased in any sort of meaningful way.
I think Dave just came up with our new shirt, Mick Echoplex. We serve truth burgers.
Mick Echoplex. Oh man, we'd have to first. I swear to you, there's something on my news of the week show that says Truth Burger, like something on that docket. Yeah, this is all just going to be a huge fucking mess. That's all that's going to happen. It's just going to be court case after court case after court case. And my part of the docket is not without court cases around this.
Yeah.
Matt, what you got next?
All right. So my next topic is a lawsuit on Bored Ape NFTs are a bad investment, which everybody probably should have realized. But again, it gets a lot worse. So basically, Sotheby's Auction House, among others, were named as defendants in a lawsuit filed by investors who regret buying Bored Ape Yacht Club NFTs. If you've seen an NFT, you've probably seen a Bored Ape Yacht Club. I don't know why that's the whole name, but it just looks like these, like, I don't know, almost computer generated apes with slightly different, or, you know, like portraits of apes with slightly different things or about them and what they're wearing, what they look like and stuff like that. Anyways, so the investors who are suing Sotheby's, among others, say that Sotheby's gave an air of legitimacy to NFTs, thus, you know, raising their value, making people pay more for them. But one of the things they were talking about was, you know, there's a particular batch, I don't remember, that had a lot number of NFTs, Bored Ape NFTs, is in question with this lawsuit, that was auctioned off, and somebody bought it for $24.4 million. It's not just one NFT, it's a whole group of them, but still, very large number for, pixels, basically. It's not even that. We had a whole talked about that before. But as it turns out, that purchase was the actual person or group that purchased that lot was FTX, which, as we know now, is a big fraud and has collapsed. And the CEO,
how'd they lose all their money?
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know what that could possibly be. But among that is like Sotheby's apparently claimed that the person who purchased these NFTs was a traditional collector, not like another company that had some skin in the game, so to speak. Apparently, the creators of Bored Ape Yacht Club and the NFTs was related. It wasn't clear in the article how to FTX. So FTX had an incentive to keep the price high, as that would, hurt some of their investments in other places. So yeah, it was just a big batch of terrible. The lawsuit is ongoing and hasn't, there's been no ruling on it yet. But what do you guys think? Are you excited to invest in NFTs now?
I think that, so first, if you bought a Bored Ape NFT, like, there's no question you're a moron. Like, obviously that was going to lose money. Obviously it was a terrible investment. But I see their point of, like, it was being misrepresented by this company. Maybe they didn't realize what they were buying, or maybe they didn't realize that, like, that market was just being held up by, like, 5 people.
Yeah.
But, like, I do think that Sotheby's is in the wrong here.
Oh yeah.
So I'm very interested to see what happens. But yeah, just if you bought an NFT, like if you spent more than like maybe $10 for the novelty on an NFT, you're a moron.
So 2 things. One, my mark is an idiot isn't actually a defense in a fraud case.
Yeah.
Like,
yep,
you picked them for a reason. But then to this also, like, it kind of like puts it shits all over the only good use of the NFT, which is it's a vehicle by which you can make sure that a creator you like gets paid for artwork that you have of theirs. Although you could just send them money. Like, I don't even know that we need to really get like some crypto bro in the middle of that exchange. Hey, I think your artwork is dope. I printed it out. Here's $20. The random artist would be like, oh shit, thank you.
That's right.
I think like that's what copyright is for, though. Like if you buy like an artist's print, it's because they own the copyright. So if you buy like a knockoff print, like what's it called? Unauthorized print of their work, that's already illegal.
Right. Yeah. And you the buyer aren't going to get busted. It's going to be the seller.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So like there's no reason to have NFTs.
But then how think of the crypto bros. All the people that were making fun of me.
Think of the crypto bros.
Remember when they were calling people right clickers?
Oh yeah.
Because someone would point out that you can actually just right click this image and have it yourself, and they're like, well, if you're a right clicker.
Yeah, the save image as menu entry is
so I think there's
powerful tool.
There's 2 different things going on here. One is that, yeah, like if you just invested in this speculatively or whatever and you lost your money, you either A, are stupid, or B, you speculated that it was going to bump before it crashed and you were going to.
Well, so what is a greater fool theory? Like you bought it in the assumption that there'd be a greater fool that would buy it for more from you.
Right. And that's speculative. And that's, you get what you get in that case. But the one where one where like a famous art auction house had something to do with it. Oh yeah, they're gonna get fucked.
Yep.
Even if not in a court of law, their reputation is in the trash. It has to be. Because now people will be like, is that really the piece of artwork you say it is? I don't know. You sold me this fucking monkey. I still have it, but so do tens of thousands of other people because it was just a ping file.
What's sad is in the article, they mentioned like that at the peak, the Bored Apes, I don't know if it was in this particular lot because there's a bunch of them in there or not, but they're saying that it peaked out at like the Bored Apes are selling for like maybe on average like $200,000 a piece. Now they're down to $50,000 a piece, which is still way too high.
Yeah, that's still way too high. They're worth nothing. They're worth zero a piece.
Right. If you think about the fact that you actually, because it's a JPEG, you actually have to buy a computer or a phone to look at it. It is negative value.
Yeah.
At least like a regular piece of art, all you need is enough light to see it, right?
Yep. True.
I will pay to not own one.
Oh, the best. I mean, I don't want to get too much into this, mostly because I'm unfortunately today I'm up against it on time, but there were people that got their they were like, but my apes got stolen.
Yep.
And then the comments were like, and nothing of value was lost. Or somebody was like, which one did you have? I right clicked them all. Remember when you called me a right clicker?
Great.
Yeah, I don't know. This is dumb. I couldn't. When it happened, I was like, first of all, there's a few other things going on with the Bored Ape Yacht Club. I recommend there's a couple of video essays on YouTube. I believe Thought Slime did one, or maybe it was Sean did one about some of the other symbology they're using that people might want to take a little bit of a look at. So there might, but it's it's exactly what you think because it's some crypto bro shit, and the demographics there are what they are. So, I just hope nobody I just hope nobody put their kids' retirement into like the one with the fucking propeller hat or whatever. There was one with a propeller hat, right?
Yeah. So you're mentioning YouTube videos. I strongly recommend anybody listening to look up the Legal Eagle video. He does a deep dive on, it's not specifically, the Bored Ape ones, but just like all the bad legal stuff around NFTs, and you should not invest in them, even if you think it's like a good investment or something, or you know something, or you're creating them to sell yourself. Like you really shouldn't do that. There's a lot of issues legal wise that maybe it'll get, fixed over the time, but it doesn't sound like anybody cares anymore, really.
I think it might have been the one that I saw where he was like, and this is one of the cases, this is one of these instances where no matter what the billing fee or whatever, he's like, I would never take such a case or something like that.
Yeah,
I think this is
probably. Yeah.
He never really editorializes like that. He was like, I would never defend you in this kind of case.
Yep.
So yeah, I don't know, whatever, fuck Sotheby's, fuck FTX. And again, I mean, FTX, this was probably their investment strategy. Their investment strategy might have been, like you said, Matt, the greater fool. And it turned out that there was no greater fool.
They were the greatest fool.
They were the greatest fool. That's what happens. What happens when your parents are ethicists? It's like, have you ever met somebody whose parents are therapists?
Yeah.
So that person is fucked up. You ever meet somebody whose parents are ethicists? You better bet they're about to rip you off.
What was worrisome is FTX was known for using depositors' money to invest. Like that was their big scheme that the big thing that they were really, sued under.
It's called the whole Ponzi scheme, right?
Huh?
Isn't that what a Ponzi scheme is?
No, not exactly. But I mean, they were just basically taking money that they were supposedly holding for people who had their money in FTX. They weren't supposed to use this. They were just like taking that money and investing it in other places and trying to take the returns for themselves. The problem is all their investments failed. And so the whole thing collapsed. And so now they got like all sorts of, fraud lawsuits and stuff going on. And criminal cases. And
they did buy the JPEG apes.
Yeah, so they have the apes to sell. Maybe. So yeah, so I don't know specifically if that's what they did with some of the money, but it's possible that's what happened.
Just for good measure, somebody should steal their apes.
If it hasn't been stolen already.
I think they had to liquidate the apes.
Oh, I bet Justin Bieber bought them.
Which is not as bad as if they had to liquefy the apes.
Right.
What do you got, HK?
Yeah.
All right. So my story is about a UI framework for React called NextUI. I think that what happened is like they modeled it after the Next.js kind of design language, but I could be wrong. It could be the other way around. But this is a UI framework for React that it's been around for a couple years now, a few years, and they just released version 2.1.0, which they're moving at a very rapid pace because they just released version 2.0 like 3 weeks ago, and they already have several brand new components in version 2.1.0. They have a select and a list box component, and I absolutely love the way they implemented those components. I'm actually planning to implement some of these features myself, like the select boxes with chips as content of the box in my own UI framework called Svelte Material UI. Technically, I've already implemented it. It's just not open source. It's part of Port 87 still, but I am going to open source that code, and then my UI framework will support some of the cool things that they're doing. But yeah, their site, their design, their components are all just absolutely astoundingly beautiful. I love their design. It's a really good design. And it's like, I run a Material UI framework, but sometimes you kind of get sick of Material UI. The biggest UI framework in React, which is their NextUI's main competitor, is called MUI. It's the React Material UI, which is not associated with Google. Google's the organization that came up with Material UI. But yeah, since NextUI is a competitor to React's Material UI, they're technically, I guess, my ally, because being that MUI is another Material UI, they're also my competitor. Because I run Svelte Material UI. And I wouldn't really say that NextUI is my competitor because they're a React UI framework and I'm a Svelte UI framework. But since we share a competitor, I hope they succeed and they destroy their competition. But yeah, so if you're building a React app, definitely check out NextUI. I know the default is just to go with MUI if you're building a React app because it's the most mature, it's the most well supported UI framework, but NextUI is definitely an up-and-comer, and it looks absolutely incredible. It's so beautiful. I love their components. I love their design. I'm a big fan. So what do you guys think?
Like I was saying in our now deleted conversation, I swear to you, somebody was showing me that like not even a week ago. And being like, if you ever redo your website, you should do it in this thing. And if it wasn't this thing, then it was something that looked just like it, down to the thing with the shoe.
I mean, maybe it was. I was thinking that you were thinking of Next.js, which is like a framework. But this UI is built for Next.js. So you can run NextUI in Next.js, deploy to Vercel, build your whole thing in React, and you can have a full stack application very easily using NextUI as your UI framework.
Unless they were showing me some CMS that uses this or looks just like this. I don't know. I forget. I'd have to look through my. It was only
maybe
like a week.
It was built in this.
It was only like a week or two ago, but it was in my Discord DM, so that could be that's buried somewhere, right?
I mean, I would not be surprised if a lot of projects started using this, or I'm sure a lot of projects already do. But if a lot of projects started using this, because, like I said, it is just the components are so beautiful, the design is so beautiful. Like, it's like if you're gonna build an app, you might as well use the most beautiful thing, and that's, I think, NextUI when it comes to React UI frameworks.
So
go ahead, Matt.
What is this UI like for? What are is it websites, phones? What?
So it's for building web apps. So it's it runs in the browser. So you could use it on like something that's designed for mobile, as in like a progressive web app. But you wouldn't be using it for like a native mobile app. But you could build a web app out of it. You could build just like a generic website. Like NextUI's website is built with NextUI, and it is absolutely gorgeous. So, yeah.
Okay.
I think every UI framework builds their own website out of their own UI.
Yeah. Yes.
Actually, that's not true. I've seen like a couple that use
WordPress.
It's called Storybooks.
Oh.
I think it's called, or Storybook, which has its own UI. But all the big ones, at least, build their own site out of their own UI.
I would imagine that the people that build these things have a little bit of the not invented here syndrome going on. So yes, they're probably going to use their own tools for it.
Yep.
Well, that's neat. I'll find out. I'll try to find out for you, and obviously off air, because I'm not going to go digging through my Discord messages right now. I'll try to figure out what that person showed me, and if it was something different, if we can figure out if it's, because there's a CMS out there like a Squarespace or like WordPress that's using this. That's killer.
Yeah. It would just instantly make your site super beautiful.
Maybe you could do that next, HK. But you have not invented here syndrome, so you'd want to use your own.
I also don't use React. I mean, I have used React. When I worked at LinkedIn, I was building a React product. But now for my own product, I use Svelte.
Well, cool. I guess it's my turn now. We're going to get far less technical, but more dramatic, funny, silly. Anyway, turns out the New York Times is a little bit mad at OpenAI. The New York Times has now blocked OpenAI's web crawler. OpenAI is the company that does ChatGPT. So if you check the New York Times' robots.txt page, you can see that it disallows a GPT bot, and it looks like this blocking probably started on or about August 17th. Earlier this month, the Times changed their TOS to prohibit all AI training models from using their content, and they're considering legal action against OpenAI regarding copyright. So everybody's suing regarding AI.
That's right.
I think it would be interesting if they succeeded, and then they were like, now if you do want to use our content, pay us.
Right. Every instance, every computer that you're using to do this needs a subscription, and you just subscribe to the Times for that computer, and we're fine, baby. We're fine.
No problem.
Maybe it could be a new revenue stream for like news organizations.
Yeah, and I mean, I'm joking, but every 16 cores you're throwing at this, you got to buy a subscription to the Times for it. Every GPU needs its own subscription to the Times. Because you're right. This is the New York Times might be the most valuable like English language source for something like this.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I just fear that they would start. They're getting most of the revenue from these different AI companies. They start writing to them or something. But their style of their writing, it's like ends up like not really being human readable anymore.
But wouldn't that the point?
The point of training on that data is that it's what humans write like, right? So they wouldn't have any incentive to change their writing style.
Yeah, I guess so.
They might have incentive to be more verbose, which I don't know if you read New York Times, but they're already extremely verbose.
Yeah.
Yeah. Especially that David Brooks guy. A lot of words and not usually saying a whole hell of a lot. He's like, I believe in a version of the status quo that is just slightly worse than the status quo, and you are stupid if you do not. And he writes 2,500 words about that, 3,000 words about that. Anyway, I got one more, and it's been a week or two since it's been about one Mr. Elon Musk, or Elron Musk, or to those who really don't like him, Apartheid Clyde. The X or Twitter website is not showing most images before December 2014 anymore. The initial thing was that that was a cost-cutting measure, and then people started pointing out that it also wasn't showing images from off of Twitter, and it wasn't showing like previews of YouTube videos from before December 2014. So it's not a cost-cutting measure. The thing is just broken again. And not in this story, but today, the CEO of, or no, the owner of X said, well, you know, this whole thing might fail. We'll see. And that's okay, fine, whatever.
Yeah, whatever. We spent $44 billion, but it might fail. We have to shut it down.
It sounds like someone broke the deep cold tier of their data storage. So like the way these apps work, and it works like this if you have like any, like if you have Google Photos. Google Photos is a great example. You can actually test this. If you go into Google Photos, pictures that you just took, that you just uploaded to Google Photos will load right away. But if you scroll down to like almost the bottom of your Google Photos, and then you click a photo to expand it, usually what will happen is the preview for it might load fairly quickly, but the full image will take forever to load. It could take up to like a minute and a half to load. And what's going on there is these huge apps that have this sort of static content to store, they put them into different tiers of storage. So you'll have something like a cluster of machines that all have NVMe, solid state drives that are like ready to go, ready to serve all of the content on them, and that'll be called what's known as like your hot tier, and that can serve an image in like a fraction of a second, like a few milliseconds. That system can serve an image to a user. And that's for things that were like just uploaded or things that are like extremely popular. And then you'll have another tier next to that one, which is like sometimes called like your normal tier, or it could be your cold tier. It depends on how many tiers you have, where generally you go from those really fast, expensive solid state drives to something like a hard drive. You go to just your standard enterprise hard drive, maybe in like a RAID array in some machine cluster that's sitting there. Yeah, the machines may be older. Those machines may have been decommissioned from the extra the spicy tier. We'll say to the mild tier. It might be actually the literal machines may have been changed, and the machines aren't as fast. The storage isn't as fast, and they're doing essentially the same job. Yeah, those are usually sitting there ready to serve data, but that data will take longer to serve than something like, something stored on solid state ready to go. So those will generally answer requests within a couple hundred milliseconds. So they'll be able to access any data on them fairly quickly and then serve that to the user pretty fast. So that's like your kind of second tier, and then you've got your deep storage tier, your deep cold, your glacier tier. Different places call them different things. I think Microsoft Azure calls it their glacier tier, I think, or I could be thinking of Amazon. That's AWS calls it glacier storage because they keep sending me emails. Telling me that I should get glacier storage, and I'm like, I already have a very slow computer that I back things up to. Yeah, so that tier is generally, the cheapest tier. They'll sometimes, I'm not sure, but I think they use tape storage. like magnetic tape. I know like whatever they do use, it is not immediately accessible. So like they probably use something like maybe hot swappable disks that are, you know, swapped into place by machine, or they could use something like a disk that's kept shut down on a machine that's kept shut down. And so like when you try and access that, all the systems are automated to bring that system up, to spin up the drive, to seek to the right place in the tape. You know, all those systems are automated to do that, but they all take a long time. They take a real long time to do that, which is why generally, if you're getting something from deep storage, it will take many, many, many seconds. So like at least 30 seconds, sometimes as long as a couple minutes before you finally get that thing. And then from there, it could be that the system is automated to like move that thing to the hot tier, or it could be that, you know, it keeps it in cache for a little while and then forgets about it. But yeah, generally, if you're looking through something that is barely accessed at all, like your old photos on Google Photos, they'll take forever to load because they're stored in this deep tier. So my guess is that Twitter is storing those photos from before 2014 in that sort of deep storage, and someone broke deep storage.
Right. It broke. Yeah. It's either, you know, because Twitter does a lot more of their own infrastructure than other similar companies. So it could be their stuff broke, or nobody was around to pay the bill to someone else for the tier, and like people don't care that much because it's from before 2014, or any number of things.
It could be like some integration from some other system that maybe someone lost the API key for or something. But yeah, I doubt that it's a cost-cutting measure, because usually that kind of stuff in that deep storage, that you know, like glacier tier storage, is like extremely cheap to host. It's like practically free.
Right. That's why, yeah, people at first they were like, it's a cost-cutting measure, and then people like you came along and were like, well, this is if you want to cut costs, you don't do it here.
Yeah.
They're like probably incompetence.
Blob storage for glacier tier blobs is like the cheapest thing to get. You would not like you'd get rid of the tweets before you'd get rid of the blobs.
One of the things we say, like on our other shows when we talk about conspiracies, is to really don't immediately jump to nefarious when incompetent is an answer that requires a lot fewer assumptions.
I should explain that word that I just used, blob storage. It stands for binary blob storage, and it's basically like key value store. So as opposed to like a database where you could query it for like, get me all the data that has like this condition and order it this way, blob storage is just like, get me the value that has this key. So it's used for things like images that are referenced somewhere else. Like in my own email service, I use blob storage for attachments. So like the email has a key for the attachment, and when you want the attachment, the app will go to the blob storage, give it that key, and it'll get the binary blob to give you back the attachment.
Would there be a way for me to write an email or do something about the movie The Blob and then make sure that it goes into a blob storage on your email server?
Yeah, you could do a PDF that has all information about the blob, and that PDF, if you send it as attachment, will absolutely be in blob storage. So that will be a blob.
A blob.
A blob.
That's amazing. That's amazing. This is the reason that people tune in, is for the banter.
For the blobs.
This is. Do you think it's going to come back, or do you think that they're just gonna that it's just gonna, because it's maybe bringing it back would be work that would require that someone who works there not only do the work but also be trusted to do the work by the powers that be? Do you think it maybe won't come back?
My guess is it'll come back, because that stuff is not stored on like the kind of storage that gets recycled a lot. So it's not like that stuff is gone. It's still there somewhere. They probably just didn't pay for it or lost the key or something or misconfigured something so that like the machine that's serving the tweet can no longer serve like the blob.
Or the person
those would be different machines anyway, different domains. But you know what I mean? Like there's the machine that whose task it is to retrieve the blob, and then there's the machine that actually stores the blob, and they talk to each other. They might not even be owned by the same company. So if the machine whose job is to retrieve the blob from the blob storage, if that machine loses the ability to talk to blob storage, this exact thing would happen. So that's my guess, is like an API key expired and no one knows how to generate a new one.
Yeah, I think the guy who was probably in charge of that was either fired or quit.
That, yep. Yeah. And just to be clear, there's stuff from 2014 images that you are able to get, because up until about 2011 or 2012, you had to host your images on Twitter elsewhere anyway. Do you remember using TwitPic?
I think I started Twitter after that, but I was familiar that Twitter did not always actually host their own media.
Now, don't get me wrong. Like some of that has been gone for longer than this, because some of those companies existed just to host images for Twitter, and then once Twitter started hosting their own images, those were gone. But it's all complicated, and it seems like throughout its lifespan, basically, Twitter has always been like held together with like fucking shoestring and Elmer's glue, and it seems weird. And funny enough, as soon as it started working right, they sold it to somebody who decided that it shouldn't work right anymore.
Yep, pretty much.
Well, I mean, that's my stories. It's getting awful hot in here. Haven't installed the AC yet because I haven't felt the need, though. Today, the humidity is making me start to think that maybe tomorrow is the day. HK, since you haven't been here as much lately, you want to read the show out for us?
Yes. So this has been our weekly tech show, How the Tech Are You? If you liked our show, you can check out our other shows at echoplexmedia.com. And you can check out our live shows at twitch.tv/echoplexmedia. And if you really like our show, you can support us on patreon.com/echoplex. And you can also buy swag and support us through our swag store, which is eplex.store. Have a great tech and week. Oh, remember to like and subscribe too. Have a great tech and week.